Hello and good evening. We'll be started in just a few moments. We've just started the webinar and we'll give folks who might be joining us online time to do so, and then we will begin. Thank you. I now call this meeting of the South Whidbey School Board to order. Just a quick note that this is a business meeting, which means that this is a meeting for the board to meet in public before the public. There will be an opportunity for public comment later in the meeting. But in general, this will be an opportunity for us to do the business of the school district and the school board in a transparent manner in front of y'all. When it comes time for public comment, we will get into, we will have 3 minutes each for public comment. If you would like to make public comment and you are in person, please talk to Ms. Macaro at the back with her hand up there, and she'll get you on the list. You will have 3 minutes. You will start with your name and general location, and then you can complete what you would like to say. The board will not generally respond to public comment because this is an opportunity for you to comment to us. It is not an opportunity for a discussion or debate. That is the place for our special workshop formats. I will remind everyone of our policy 0002, which is our professional communication standards, which notes that in support of this policy, the board of directors expects its members and all relevant parties, that would be everyone in attendance and participating, to treat each other and students with dignity and respect, exercise reasonable good judgment in handling interpersonal disputes, exercise respect, courtesy, and concern for the dignity and cultural background of others, refrain from use of abusive language, model respectful problem solving when in a disagreement, use clear, concise, and courteous oral and written communication to arrive at goodwill solutions, and seek to understand others' points of view and cultural perceptions. We will now turn to our land acknowledgement. Director Jackson.
Thank you, and I want to beg the board's forgiveness and the public's forgiveness for my slightly tardy arrival. I want to speak on behalf of South Whidbey School District in acknowledgement of the first people of this place, this land and these waters, and the Snohomish people who have stewarded them for uncountable generations, past, present, and future, the many speakers of the Lushootseed family of languages, the tribes of the Coast Salish, the Lower Skagit, the Stillaguamish, the Suquamish peoples of this region, the people collectively affiliated with the Tulalip tribes, the many indigenous cultures whose connection to this land and its beings have been and continue to be a great source of education for us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Jackson. One thing I did fail to note for the 15 folks who are attending online, if you would like to make public comment, please start typing it up now. Again, start with your name and general location, and it will be read by myself. Okay, we will now move on into the business meeting itself. Are there any objections to approving the agenda and minutes as presented? Hearing none, the agenda and minutes are approved as presented. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as presented? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. I do want to note that it is with great sadness that we note that on the personnel report, we have the official notification of Susie Richards' planned retirement as principal here at South Whidbey Elementary. She has been a spectacular force for good, and I know that my daughter is the better for her being principal here. Thank you. We will now move into the meat of this, which is our school improvement plans. I will turn it over first to Dr. Clifford, and then we'll move on to the individual buildings. Dr. Clifford.
All right. Thanks. We are looking forward to sharing and updating you all on the progress and the plans for this year. We'll start with, we'll just start with the next slide. And this is just a very quick overview. So there are three district goals that we have. But right here is highlighting the goals that are that will be included and incorporated into our school improvement plans. So in each of the goals, we have pillars and then subcategories in each of those pillars. And so you'll see highlighted in each of the school improvement plans information and activities and key measures for each of those areas. And then in the academic growth goal, Pillar 1, vertical alignment in math and core academics, is also an area that is built into the pillars. You're also going to see that they included professional development, which is part of our district work. So the other goals we're all working on together, but we have district action items rather than building it into the school improvement plans, and we're all working together on those. An example of that, real quickly, I'm not going to go over it, but if you can click on that link, this year, every other year, the state requires us to do professional development in training and professional development related to equity, and then the other year to social emotional learning, which I think both are included and engaged in each other. And so this year we launched the Speak Up training, and so this is an example of a district plan of how we're rolling that out. We launched it in our opening day, then did the same training with our board in September workshop. But this outlines our rollout at each of the school levels because we want to tailor it to each of the school levels for the staff and then for the students, and students will be engaged in that process at the secondary level. So just showing that we have district plans as well as school improvement plans to support our work. So with that being said, really the most important part of this right now is our school improvement plans and the work that our principals are doing to lead our schools and their work collaborating with our entire staff. Because this takes it takes everyone, all of our staffs, and then also in partnership with our families, communities, and students to support our students' outcomes, both from a social emotional lens, academic lens, and just being better humans and being the best that they can be when they are with us and when they leave us. So I'm excited to, we're going to start at the secondary at high school with Mr. Patton, and then we'll go down and we'll end with elementary. So I'm handing it over to our team.
Good evening. Really appreciate everybody coming out to listen to my school improvement plan. Good seeing you all. Thank you for coming. Talk here a little bit about South Whidbey High School and South Whidbey Academy, and you'll see common themes between all of our schools and our district goals also as we go through it. Basically, we have two goals, and this is something we focused on several years. Basically, the two goals are the socio-emotional and also academics. So those are our two main goals. Pillar 1 for our socio-emotional, expand culture of care, work within staff, working with our staff. So what I have on each pillar is our strategies, activities, measures, and key results. For our strategies and activities for expanding culture of care, work within staff. I don't know if you're aware, but we have a program called Forefront. Forefront is a suicide prevention program that we've done for, I think we're going on year 6. In fact, we are a model school, and it's through the University of Washington. It teaches schools throughout the state, and I didn't provide the link, but our students actually did the training videos for all schools. So that's really cool. So shout out to Rochelle Bennett and our staff and our students. And what happens is we train peers who train each student, each class, each advisory. So every one of our students, every one of our staff members every year get this training. We're also starting speak up training for all staff. Again, this is about equity, being able to speak up when you hear microaggressions, bigotry, hate speech, things of that nature. And not only are our teachers trained, but also our students are going to be trained. And much like Forefront, they're going to train our other students. So that's a new program that we're embarking on this year. We're going to offer Life Space Crisis Intervention, LSCI, and this is the second year we're doing that through Sarah Dominguez, who comes in and also trains our staff. And it's really about that tier 1 and some tier 2 interventions that classroom teachers can do. We conduct at the high school, we conduct monthly culture of care staff meetings. We had one last week in which we look at wellness survey data, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. We talk about that with our staff. We get the results, talk to our staff about it, and where are our kids falling through the cracks. We want to make sure that they have an adult, they have a friend at school, and they have a staff member that they can go to. So an adult outside of school, adult inside of school, and a friend that they can go to. And we want to make sure that's true for 100% of our kids. Facilitate monthly courageous conversations. Last week, we had a great conversation about some issues and items that every school goes through, and talking them out with our staff, having real frank, open discussions, which I think is very important. We use our building leadership team discussions to identify and address emerging themes in staff wellness, communication, and support to make sure not only are we looking out for our students, but also our staff to make sure everybody's okay, because it's life. We all go through different things. Administer pre and post staff culture survey. This is something that we're going to start this year. We haven't done it in a while, and it's something that the administrators, Dr. Clifford, we're going to talk. There's a lot of different templates out there and surveys that we're going to that you can use. We want to find a tool that's effective for us. So that's something that we can implement. So we're not just surveying our students, but also our staff and how they're doing. Measures, the staff participation, again, that's going to be 100% in Forefront, Speak Up, and other professional learning opportunities. Observation notes, using restorative SEL strategies in classrooms and advisory settings. SEL, equity and diversity, is also part of our teacher evaluation, and that's new to the state in the past couple of years. So that's something that we focus to, not just student growth goals, but also what are they doing with their students in classes. Monthly building leadership team reflects, it's a great sounding board for me to see how the staff, the students, the culture, the environment is doing. Behavior and referral data, something we always look at. Our expulsions down, not expulsions anymore, exclusions. And how are we doing as far as attendance, et cetera. Also, the other measure is our comparison. We're going to do for the staff, we're going to do a pre-survey, figure out where some trouble spots are, try to change that, and then do a post-survey to see where their improvement is. I have it upside down, I'm sorry. By the way, this is a new feature. Tonight we have a clicker. It's big news. Key results, this is what we hope for, 100% staff participation in Forefront suicide prevention, Speak Up at training, increase staff confidence in addressing student well-being, safety, and difficult conversations. And that's going to help with our LSCI training and also our Speak Out training. Growth and restorative and SEL-based approach across classrooms and common spaces. So again, we have been trained in restorative justice, restorative circles, and community circles, and that's something that we're continuing. Improved results, pre and post year staff culture surveys. I talked a little bit about that already. Did I skip one? Okay, social-emotional learning pillar 2 is build student feelings of safety and belonging. Strategies are we're going to continue our Falcon Advisory. Falcon Advisory is not only a nuts and bolts like pre-register, some basic things that students need to do, high school and beyond plan, but also it's about teaching about empathy, voice, inclusion, and other social aspects that our students need. Train and support student leaders who deliver forefront and speak up peer-to-peer lessons. We talked about that already. Integrate restorative conversations. We talked about that. Use Healthy Youth Survey. The Healthy Youth Survey is a state mandated survey, and the whole state does that. And we did that last week, so we don't have results yet on that. Again, that is something we're going to go over as a staff once we get the results and see where we need to improve on. Implement consistent Tier 1, Tier 2 SEL supports. And again, that's through the training that we get from Sarah Dominguez. And also that will, Speak Up will also help out with that. The measures are surveys, attendance, discipline, data trends, advisory documentation, forefront Speak Up lessons, and participation rates is something we share, I believe, with the board at the end of every year. The participation of athletics, activities, band, choir, and want you to let you know too that we have currently, we revamped and brought back our drama program, and we have 35 students in that class, and we have a waiting list. So that's coming back. And again, it's a great thing for students to participate in.
Mr. Patton, real quick, could you talk a little bit about what Tier 1 and Tier 2 means for those watching at home or in the room here who don't know?
Yeah, Tier 1 basically is if you are a staff member student, it's, how do I categorize it? It's the things that can be taken care of. Maybe there's a misbehavior or misunderstanding or something like that. It's a low-level intervention from our staff to students, or student to student, or staff to staff even. Tier 2 is a little more in depth in that there could be some environmental factors going on, whether it's at home, things are happening in their lives where the behavior and the action is more of a manifestation of what's happening in their lives. So does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to get,
Yeah, everybody?
education is a language with a lot of acronyms and shorthand.
Yes,
and
I'm sorry.
jargon. And so we've had this time to work together on it. So
Yes.
we understand up here pretty well usually, but want to make sure that everyone watching at home does too. Thank you.
So my next slide is I'm going to share some the first wellness survey data that I created with Mrs. Phillips that we've used in the past. But again, our goal is 100% of our students have a trusted adult at school. And I'm going to share that information from our first survey in this fall. And that's something we're going to do also in the winter, again, and see where they're at. And usually there's improvement. And then in the spring again, just to see where our students are at throughout the year. All students will participate in forefront presentation and speak up sessions. Again, reduce exclusionary discipline. If you see our exclusionary discipline, those rates have dropped in the past few years, and that's good. And we kind of attribute that to restorative practice. Positive growth and belonging, safety indicators. Again, those are going to be the student wellness survey and the healthy youth survey. So again, there's some, I'm sharing 4 or 5 questions that students answered. And the first one is, overall, how are you feeling while construction is happening? Now, this is a new question because obviously, I don't know if you know, there's a few things going on in our 612 building. We have a new office. That's a whole nother story. But I just wanted to check in to see how they're doing. And you know what? Our students haven't missed a beat. I mean, there's been a lot of changes, and our first day of school was actually an all school orientation because we've had to move the office, the nurse's office, many things, classrooms, portables, things like that. But the kids seem like they haven't skipped a beat. So I'm really appreciative of that. So as you see, most are fine with it. Okay. Obviously, and anytime we do these surveys, the ones that are pretty stressed, any students that are kind of in the what I call the code red category, we reach out to individually. And what's great is we're a small enough system to find those kids and help. So again, 3 major questions. A friend from school, an adult outside of school, and an adult within school. And we want 100% on all 3 of those categories. And we're not quite there. Do you have a friend from school who you can count on to help? 93.3% said yes. And again, that is a very high number. But again, at last week at our staff meeting, we identified those kids that said no. Okay, so all of these questions, that's why we're doing this, to make sure none of our students fall through the crack. Is there a teacher, basically, is there a staff member you feel comfortable in reaching out to? And 89% said yes, 11% said no. A couple things we noticed as going through the data is most of the 11% are new students or freshmen. And that's understandable. So that's why we do this in the winter and also in the spring to see how that changes. And what we do too is we find those 11% and we have teachers fighting over, no, I'm going to connect with this kid. No, all 3 or 4 of you can connect with those students. So it's kind of neat to see our staff members reach out and, you know, I'm definitely going to make a connection with this student. Do you have a family member or other adult outside of school you can count on? And this is, I think this is a reflection of our community. This is a great number, 96.1%. And it's funny because in the past when I've done this survey is a student might say, I don't have a trusted adult to go to. I've had students say, well, I don't need one because my family's so great at home. So there's some variables too within this, and that's good to hear. But again, we want to make sure it's 100%. Do you know who our student support specialist is? Our student support specialist is our South Whidbey Academy director, our 2 school counselors, myself, our director of safety, our school psychologist, and also we have mental health specialists through the Island County and also the ESD. So we have a great support group of staff members, and we meet weekly and we talk about students. We have a list of students that we're concerned about and strategies and histories and updates and things like that. So 78%, again, this is always kind of around 70 to 80% that first go around, because again, we need to get our mental health specialists in front of our students and do introductions, and that'll happen in advisory. So kids can make, can put names with faces. Okay, move right on to academic growth, improve vertical alignment in mathematics and core academics. And really the district improvement plan focuses on mathematics. Mathematics, as you probably are aware, through the state scores are low across the board. That's always an area of improvement that every district can do, including ours. But also I wanted to look not just at math, but also some of the core academics, namely ELA. So I kind of integrated ELA and some other core subjects into this also. Strategies, explore, evaluate pre-algebra course options, implementations, model to support math readiness and early intervention. And really the strategies, and you'll see a theme throughout the strategies and activities, is we're really looking at, there's some different approaches. Used to be that the standard for incoming freshmen was taking semester-long algebra and then geometry, and now that's changed. And kind of a remediation intervention that we've done is we have students take year-long, as a freshman, year-long algebra. So we slow it down, we make sure they have those pre-algebra skills, and they hit it hard second semester. There's also been some talk about a possible pre-algebra class before the algebra, and there's some philosophical differences and odds that, you know, you want your students ready to go algebra, but we got to make sure, again, that our students don't fall way behind. We don't want them to give up on math. Also, we're going to review our SBAC ELA results. I believe 2 years ago, our score was like 90% pass rate, which was incredible. And it did dip last year. That's basically, there's some variables there and the reasons why. And one of the reasons is the cohort. There's a lot of factors and variables. I don't want to get too in depth with it, but it's something that we need to get our ELA scores back up to very high 90, 95% where it should be. So that's something we're looking at. And again, we've done this before in the past is we have students in 9th and 10th grade that struggle in ELA. What are some intervention classes? Because we have that room in our schedule that we can identify those students early, put them in a class and really get them up to speed. So that's some interventions that we're going to explore this year. All of our today we had a PLC, professional learning community, and a professional learning community is we had all 6th through 12th grade staff meet together. So all of our science teachers, for example, 6 through 12 met. They talked about curriculum. They talked about where are the gaps, what is the sequencing to make sure we're not missing any of those fundamentals that students need as they move up through the system. Collaboration with TechTosa, we hired a phenomenal, Amanda Worfman is our new TechTosa. She's phenomenal and been very helpful with, she comes into all of our classes, even though we have half a library now, it still works. But again, how can she help and technology help with our students? Measures, it's the standard high school measures, our PSAT, SAT, which our scores, PSAT and SAT, has always been higher than the state average and national average. And that will continue, I promise. But also our SBAC math, ELA, growth data analyze, and we're going to make sure that, you know, where are the specific areas that our students are dropping. Maybe it's text, maybe it's reading, maybe it's writing, maybe there's different strands that we need to focus on. PLC and BLT minutes document the alignment work, grade distribution reports for Algebra 1, Geometry, English 9, 10 reviewed quarterly. That's, when I look at freshman F list, those are the 2 classes, English 9 and Algebra, that I really look at. And where are we at? What is it comparatively to years previous, and where should we be? And again, that goes back also to graduation on time statistics. So that's something we look at. Completion of pre-algebra, I talked a little bit about that. Teacher-student growth data, verifying instructional consistency, where we're at there by department. Are we teaching units the same, two or three different teachers teaching the same curriculum the same manner? So key results for academic growth, improved SAT, PSAT, state test scores. And notice how I didn't put science state test scores up there because there always have been and will continue to be through the roof. So it's not an area of concern for me. Consistent grading, assessment, and feedback practices through 612. How are we grading? If we have 2 algebra teachers, are they grading the same way? It's important for consistency in our program. Gap analysis, I talked a little bit about that. You know, sequencing, making sure that we have all the subjects at middle school to prepare them for high school, which I'm confident we do. Increase student success rates in foundational math and ELA courses. Again, really looking at our students who are struggling, how can we help them? And do we change courses? Do we change approaches? And just continuing trying to meet the needs of our students. And I think that's it for me. Any questions?
I just want to add, especially because this last goal has in strengthening Tier 1 instruction, to reinforce and expand on what you said. Tier 1 is what all students get. Tier 2 is what some students get, so that everybody gets all Tier 1, and some students need a little extra, so they get Tier 1 and Tier 2. And then a few students might need something different, and so they'll have access to Tier 1, Tier 2, and may also have something different. And so that's the 3. So it's all, some, few.
Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Well, first of all, Ms. Brown, I love seeing how the new DEIP district plan is flowing through down to the school building level. I really love the alignment. I have a question about some of the metrics. So I'm going to be a broken record, and this goes for every building. But I would love to see disaggregated data when possible, so we can see when a metric is improving or not improving. Is there an achievement gap? And so just a request for later in the year when data starts to come in. And then also for some of the metrics that are, like improve this, do you have baselines for all those, or is part of the work to like gather baselines so you know whether it's improved?
Yeah, thank you. So I think this is my 15th or 16th school improvement plan. I usually give the metrics from the previous year, this time of year, but what will happen is when I get that information from this year, I will compare it with last year also. And the baseline data that I use basically is, for SAT, PSAT is state and national. But for your state test scores, the baseline for me is we always want to be above the state average, and we should be. So that's, I hope that answers your question, but that's the baseline I'm looking for. So next time around, as I get data, I will give that to you. I think we do an update in the winter, and then in the spring, I'll have a lot more data, and I will compare the previous year with.
I think, John, just in reflecting on some of your presentations, what that allows us to do is to compare students to students, not year to the previous year. So if we look at students who may have, for example, the ELA year where we had, what was it, John, 97% of students meet standard in ELA.
90. I like 97 though.
Okay, it was really high because it was the year we rolled out the new curriculum.
Yep.
We wouldn't want to compare the year after to those same scores because they're different students with different challenges, different things that they're navigating. So when we look more at the spring data, that's where we're comparing the growth goals. And that's where I think, Joe, you're thinking of the more specific data that we're used to seeing.
And thank you, Andrea. And Joe, I want to share too with you is like last year's sophomores, they took the SBAC in ELA and math. And what I did is after I got the results, and even before, is you go back and you look at that cohort all the way back to elementary, how their state test scores were. And there are some cohorts that are higher, some that are lower. But also that's a tool. If we know this incoming cohort might be a little lower than normal, what are the interventions we can do in place beforehand, before their freshman, sophomore year? So that's something else that we look at for baseline.
Oh, I just wanted to mention, I think how important the cohort by cohort assessment must be, especially in the wake of something as disruptive as the COVID pandemic and the academic interruption that we experienced, and just thanking you for your sensitivity to the needs of students who may have had a very different educational experience for some portion of their schooling.
Yeah, +1 to all of this. And I want to thank you for that survey data from students. It really paints a picture for us as to the successes we're having with social emotional learning and also where those gaps are. And I love that our school system is small enough and intimate enough that we can pinpoint those kiddos and help support them, especially those incoming freshmen. I would be interested also in some anecdotal data or some quantitative data around how that 11% of kiddos, for example, who in that one slide you showed, how do students do their test scores improve, do their grades improve as they meet that bar of having a trusted adult in the school? Keeping confidentiality and privacy, of course, but just having some correlative measurements around how that SEL, culture of care, supports academic rigor.
Exactly, and that's exactly it. If our students feel safe and that they belong, they're going to learn. If they don't have those two at school, they don't feel safe, they don't feel like they belong, it's going to be a hard time for them to learn.
I just wanted to, first off, thank you for the presentation, the very comprehensive presentation that, to echo Director Greenhair, aligns very nicely with what we passed down to Dr. Clifford and what Dr. Clifford has prepared and the admin have prepared for the district. And to note for those who have unfamiliarity with restorative practices, that does not mean there are no consequences. There is the restorative conversation and then there are the consequences, or vice versa, but both exist. This is not a removal of discipline, but we do see discipline rates, as you mentioned, going down because of these conversations.
Correct. Thank you.
Is it me? All right, Southwoodby Middle School. I'm Kayla Phillips. Thanks for being here. Super excited to share with you about our really growing population. I like to try to bring images and pictures because I think I have the best seat in the house. I get to see students in action with each other, with their teachers, and all around. So I'm gonna try to share with you kind of the world I get to see every day. And I bet if you remember your middle school experiences, you probably have some not great memories, but hopefully a couple good ones too. I try to share both of those when I see the roller coaster that comes through in middle school. So on the top left is is our new crest that we've been working on as we're in the bond. So you might see that in places. Some pictures around here. You'll notice there's no students on cell phones. Middle school adopted a from when you walk on campus to the end of the day, no cell phone. So lunch is loud and pretty physical. So we go to intramurals out back halfway through lunch. It's not called recess. We're too cool for that, but it sure looks like it. Our PE this time of year, we really try to utilize the beautiful outdoors. So we're playing what's called bucket golf. I learned all about it. Our PE department is 100% inclusive. So every student is participating to their capacity. So that's a couple pictures. I like that one in kind of the middle left because it's showing you some of the construction back there, but you're generally seeing students still participate and do what they do. In the middle, this was last week, they were preparing for a math assessment. And so they were discussing their study guide as a group. And then that top right, this is the courtyard, which will be updated in the bond. But at lunchtime this time of year and in the spring, and even sometimes the dead of winter, a lot of students spend time out there eating and hanging out. And it's a really great reminder that these kids are still kids and they're goofy and they're playing tag and they're eating out of their lunch boxes. And it's just great to watch them kind of organically find new groups. And it helps us as we're kind of spinning wheels on who we need to connect with whom to make some connections. And so that's just a snapshot into my day-to-day that I feel really grateful for. Goal 1, and you'll see a lot of vertical connection from the high school to middle school to elementary because we work collaboratively and a lot of overlap. So a student could hear common language from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade when it comes to certain components of our district. And we do that intentionally so that it makes sense and we're not using synonyms to something that when there's no need to. So our goal number 1, deepening our school culture of care and belonging with attention to our systems within our staff's intra and interpersonal capacities. So we're expanding our culture of care work within staff. I have had a relatively low retirement or rate of new staff, but I still think it's relevant to work collaboratively as every year and theme is a little different with construction. So as a staff, we have some things to do to connect. And then that second one, same to the high school, builds students' feelings of safety and belonging. That picture on the right is Miss Brewer's speech and drama class. So it's one of our new electives because it's going to filter up that alignment to the high school. Again, they're using the courtyard because it has it's a nice ambiance and you can kind of spread out and there's a lot of physicality and drama when you get the chance. So it's really fun to watch them kind of bring their humor and their feelings to that. And then in the middle is ceramics, one of our electives that we offer. So the pillar 1 is my work collaboratively with our staff. So every Wednesday we have time together as a staff, which is a time that I feel is probably the most important. I see my classrooms as the lunchroom because that's where all students are. And then on Wednesdays with staff. So those are kind of my 2 classrooms that I feel most directly responsible for, as well as the school day-to-day, of course. But when it comes to that instructional time or that impact. So our first activity that we do this every year, we had kind of a lower level one last year, but I feel that our staff rapport and collaboration has to stem through play. There's that saying that spend an hour with someone in a state of play and you'll learn more about them. You know that quote. So we played pickleball. We've done some internal games. I think this year we're going to do ceramics. Our ceramics teacher has offered to let us come in. So we're going to play and we're going to create and we're going to allow ourselves to have play together, much like our students do. A lot of our students take ceramics. So that's something we're going to do. And some teachers, it pushes their boundaries. One teacher, when we played pickleball, was like, I'm not athletic. So we talked about that on the sense of how our students might feel when they're pushed into a space that they don't feel that they thrive in. And so it's kind of those challenges and we're putting ourselves in a position of discomfort. And so the goal of that is increasing staff trust, collaboration, and communication. Some measures would be our attendance, participation, and that staff wellness survey. Ours will, the middle, elementary, high schools will look similar. As adults, they will ask questions that are quite similar compared to maybe students' differences. The Speak Up at School training, I've started using it with, I find myself trying to use it. It was brought to us by Dr. Clifford. We've done admin training. We've done it with staff, and now we're moving forward to how we're going to work with students on it. So I myself am trying to practice using that language already as we prepare to take the next step. So staff have already participated in, and our next step is co-creating to co-teach Speak Up curriculum with our students. Key results: increase staff knowledge and common language to support a positive school culture. If we're all using similar themes and similar terms and we've had the same lessons, it strengthens you to be able to speak up when it comes to comments or interactions you see that you don't want at your school. Facilitate collective shared responses to that harmful language. We feel that student attendance and then referral data are going to be strong measures for that. Students who don't feel safe or belonging at school might not attend as much. So that's something we're going to track in relation to how this is rolled out. We're going to develop and implement some protocols for staff to participate in challenging conversations around topics relevant to our school climate. Sometimes it's hard when it's more free-form, so we'll play with some different protocols of communication in order to engage in those conversations that can be challenging, acknowledge our feelings and our discomforts, but allow a protocol to help us with that process so that we can increase our engagement in challenging topics so that we can engage in those with our students. Participation and then feedback will be a measure for that. LSCI, Life Space Crisis Intervention, is what that stands for. We collaborate with a PhD candidate, Sarah Dominguez, to enable our staff to learn more trauma-informed practices to support student outcomes. We send a subset of staff to summer trainings, and that focuses on Tier 3 students, very few amount of students with exceptional needs. When she comes here to work with our staff, it's at a Tier 1, Tier 2 approach for all students, and then some students with some challenges, to increase our staff's knowledge of trauma-informed practices and how we can support students in the classroom and in common settings. Measures of that will be discipline data, office referrals, and then restorative circle data. We measure how many restorative circles we're having a week, and we're also tracking who we're having them with, or do we have commonalities of staff members involved or students, so that we can make sure that that they're still appropriate, or is there something beyond a restorative conversation that needs to be had if we're consistently having the same few students. We hold twice monthly student support meetings with all staff. So similar to the high schools work with this, we discuss students we have concerns about. We're in development of what's called MTSS, a tiered system of approach. So we're usually talking about students we're worried about at a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 level. So we're working on implementing our strategies and knowledge of trauma-informed practices, collaboration with families, and then targeting plans to support those students. So measures, again, attendance and then referrals for counseling. If a student that we're consistently talking about as a staff, having those hard conversations about, are we providing them enough needs, or is there an additional person that we need to refer them to in order to support them? Continued. Oh, nope, there we go. Again, more images, because I'll talk about student safety and belongingness at school. At middle school, most come for the social aspect of school, and we know that. So we honor the intellectual growth and the social development of students by looking at how we allow them to safely participate and be 11 to 14-year-old people. So here are some images of, again, the day-to-day I get to see. On the bottom right, this was last spring, they're signing an anti-bullying and anti-harassment agreement that they had created through advisory. That's our winter dance in the middle. Not a lot of dancing, but they sure had a lot of fun. Celebration in the bottom left, they had a class goal and they had met it. So they had an ice cream party and were celebrating. The one on the top right is that idea that you're not going to do something like climb a rock wall without feeling safe at school. And so that is a really fun thing to watch them do in PE every day. And then just being silly in class and in the courtyard, because they're still children. So that second goal, which as a collective, our staff has to work to build trust together so that we can work to build the trust of our students and their families. So that second one, just like the high schools, build students' feelings of safety and belonging. Similar to the high school survey, although we ask questions in a more developmentally appropriate way, because we're 11 to 18, they might understand things at a different level. So we try to take that into account. We implement and review student surveys focusing on their safety during construction and connections to staff. The biggest direct impact of construction right now is likely change in location of the office, the nurse, and things like that. The middle school is generally untouched with impact on our main entry. But it's still something that we want to be cognizant of in making sure that they have clear understanding of the safety and how they navigate campus. So we've adapted and responded to what's within our control, working with the bond. So as a staff, we talk about what the impacts are for us, how we're feeling about it, and then how we can control and mitigate what we share and how we respond with our students so that they know the plan, they know what's clear for them, and we still do the job that we're here to do, which is to teach young people. And then we'll use the student survey for that. The second one is that trusted adult or peers. The goal for this, the key results would be deepen staff and student relations. Like Mr. Patton said, we have 300 students, 303 last time I checked at the middle school. So we want to identify and make sure every student has a staff member and or peer that they feel trusted or connected to when they come on campus every day. Something else we try to facilitate is connect and engage peer-to-peer relationships to increase that connection and belongingness. You want to come to school, you want to see someone that you want to see every day, whether that's a peer or a staff member. So we're working on making sure that where there's a gap there, we're working to fill that. We do quarterly student celebrations. We believe it deepens sense of community and connections to staff and peers. Like I said, it's play. So for example, next week we're having a harvest hangout. It's the end of the quarter, a few days after that. So we're looking to celebrate their successes of first quarter, acknowledge their developmental stage, and engage in play, recognizing that the social aspect of middle school is incredibly important, and honoring that time together. So, and we measure that by participation. ASB works really hard to host events and celebrations and activities where it's free, so that no student doesn't attend as a result of a cost. So they work hard doing bake sales or seeking support so that those things can be participated by all students. I'm really excited to watch students co-collaborate with their teachers to present at Speak Up at School lessons to educate and promote a safe environment. A lot of students, if you start to ask them about if they saw a negative interaction or heard a negative comment, how it made them feel or how they wish they had responded, almost every student I've ever talked to says, I wanted to say something, I didn't know what to say. So to get to share this experience alongside staff so that they have common knowledge and common language to address that and to support a more positive school culture is what we're really looking forward to. And then having staff and students, when you're walking alongside your staff like we did in COVID, and you're learning at the same time, it's a really powerful experience for students and staff to engage together and learn and role play and talk about how they can have a positive impact on our culture. We'll measure through referral data and our student wellness survey. The health use survey is every 2 years. We took it last week, so that'll be one we'll use. That data comes out, it feels very disconnected because it comes out a lot later, but it's still a measure that we will use and digest as a staff, so I will edit so that has healthy use survey on there as well. It's continued because our staff's really looking forward to diving into this. We have advisory every Friday, and we focus on lessons that are developmentally appropriate, content specific to social emotional needs. Students need explicit teaching and skills in social development to understand what a healthy relationship looks like, to what it looks like to work within a community and have trust within our building. So we're really explicit about that training. We try to make it relevant. We utilize media and clips so that it's engaging to them so that they can practice their social development. Discipline referral, lesson participation, and then we ask a lot of student reflection to see how it's how they're taking the information and what is hitting the mark and what we might need to adjust. We use our Caring School Community curriculum as our starting point, and then we might utilize it in different aspects based off of feedback or trends we're seeing in referrals or common problems we're having to help support in the office. We have clubs going. I just approved a third one yesterday. And we're trying to encourage students to create more clubs so that like-minded friends can get together and participate and have a safe place to go and be themselves. The thing I always say about clubs is they live and die by student interest. So we're helping students learn the process. We made it a lot easier to establish a club this year. And every teacher helped us to create that so that they can be the person that can help them start a club. They're typically lunches. So you need an advisor who's willing to give up usually one lunch a week in order to host that club. Increasing student engagement and connections to build community and belongingness. So we'll look at participation both in extracurriculars, but as well as clubs. Proactive attendance communications from school to home. There's a lot of statistics on attendance, and if a student is missing more than 2 days a month, we're looking at a percentage that's going to have negative impact on their ability to participate and hit their post-graduation goals. So we work with our attendance secretary to increase attendance conversations and support for academic outcomes. A lot of it might be supports for families to support factors that are impacting their attendance or participation. A lot of times, Readiness to Learn is ready to help us. So we tend to come at that type of conversation out of curiosity and care versus punitive and worry. It's more the wonder versus, so we can help them to get their kid to school on time. And attendance data would be the measure for that. Celebrating student successes. As a staff, we talked about what's a sustainable and important way that we can honor our students. So we do what's called Cougar Pride Awards and then Communications Home. A lot of times we give a certificate, we announce it on the over intercom, and then we are going to expand it this year so that that information is also going out to Parent Square, and then we're creating, if you've been in the office space at all, there's a lot of white walls. So we're going to create a wall where those weekly Cougar Pride Awards are also listed so that students can see a point of pride as they're walking campus every day. And it's also, I've had a lot of parents who say, I didn't know my kiddo got that because that award never made it home, but I sure saw it on Parent Square. And I'm really, really proud to see that my student was honored for an individual success. It also feels really good when you get to make a positive email or phone call home. So it's not altruistic. It's this idea that I got to be a positive phone call home to recognize a student's success. And staff really have leaned into that and recognize that it's important on both ends. We have our master document and the number of students we have. Our goal is for 100% of students to be recognized this year. And it's a specific recognition. It's not just your name. We're very specific with what you're being recognized for and who recognized you for it. And then the other thing we also focus on is that participation in conferences, which is in November, so that we understand that communications to build community and build belongingness go beyond the bell and they go home with them too. Those student support meetings, like I was talking about, we have staff-based ones, and then we have our core staff, our counselor-based ones, where we are talking about students in that tier 2 or tier 3 zone, students with higher needs or more specific needs, so that we're addressing concerns for them, collaborating and creating proactive responses to their needs. Referrals for that, for student support, as a staff member or a student can refer themselves for a referral for mental health supports, and then also tracking grades and student attendance for a student who has been referred through that system. Because grades and attendance are one measure, but their participation, if they're in a tier 2 or a tier 3 needs for mental health, is one other factor that we keep in mind. Similar to Mr. Patton in the high school, we did a baseline survey for student wellness in September 2025. I believe this was the 3rd Friday of the school year. So we asked questions a little differently, knowing that we have 11-year-old 6th graders. We have about 40 new students in the middle school, which is a lot to us. So that was exciting. So some of the questions we framed in the idea that they've known us about 14 days. And so not yet having a trusted adult is okay because there's a lot to digest still. So we asked the same question, how are you feeling during construction? I think that green spot was 8 students. So what we did with that is we met with them to figure out what can we do to mitigate your stress or clarify for you so that while this is happening, because this is just the beginning, so that we can prepare and plan and help you to feel more at ease during it. So every kid had some different stuff. One kid just hadn't realized where the bathroom was. So we talked about that. But some of them, we had patterns of, okay, we haven't done a good enough job communicating. So we did a tier 1. So all students in advisory had a lesson reviewing places, access to boys' restroom there, girls' restroom is over there, routes for middle school students. They wanted to make sure none of that had changed because high school has different routes. Middle school has their own. and then any safety needs during construction. So it was nice to get the themes from those students that were feeling pretty stressed, and then realize that we should have a collective conversation and lesson about this so that all students have clarification of the expectations. We asked students about, is there a secretary, teacher, nurse, counselor, student support advocate, coach? Coach is a huge, a trusted adult in a lot of students' lives that I'm incredibly grateful for. And is there on campus you feel comfortable with? So we asked yes, no, or not yet, but getting there. Because if you're 14 days in, you might not be there yet, but you feel, okay, I think I could get there. And we also asked some open-ended questions of, is there anything specific or someone you wanted to mention that I could, when we're looking at and analyzing that data, staff could say, oh, okay, I remember that connection and I'm going to continue it so that we can get there. So when we analyze that no or not yet category, we looked at creating those one-to-one connections with students and identifying categories in no or not yet, but getting there so that we are identifying them and recognizing we still have work to do. Referral to counselor to refer or provide general support. Ms. Grimm, our new school counselor, or more that tier 2 or tier 3 support. We try to connect students to other clubs, activities, and peers. We know our students pretty well, so as we get to know them more, we try to pair them in different groups or in different opportunities in class so that we can help to get them more connected. We've asked our students what they want, and one of them was clubs. So that's why we reviewed how we establish clubs at our school. That was a really quick, easy fix. A lot of kids said, sometimes at lunch, I don't want to be in the lunchroom, but I can't be in a classroom, or I have this interest, I want to meet like-minded friends. We have a new leadership elective, which has been really fun to bring back. They're making beautiful posters. If you've been in our Cougar Den lately, just really brightening up the place. That point of pride is really helpful. And they are helping to raise interest in club participation as well. It's one of their quarterly goals. Our counselors have done visits to all classrooms as of late September 2025. So our mental health supports and the Ms. Grimm. So all students have at least had one exposure to at least one mental health or counselor support. And then we have teacher wellness check-ins, including opportunities for self-referrals. A couple of our teachers in certain departments every week do a check-in to see how kids are doing. They can self-refer to have a check-in with Ms. Grimm, and she rates and checks in on how they are overall doing. So she has a pattern and a trend that she's able to review or refer if there's a pattern of concern for her. Do you have a friend or friends from school with whom you can count on? 96.3%, especially with 40 plus new students, we were really excited about these numbers. So we looked at the no category. So we started with pretty easy one of, oh, I have this student in class and I think they could connect with this person over here. So I'm gonna mix it up and we're gonna do this group work and I'm gonna pair them together. It's little things like that to start to help connect like-minded people, refer them to go to a club or connect. Or encourage them, so-and-so's in cross country, have you met them? Try to encourage them to participate in something like that. And then Ms. Grimm or myself attempting counselor or connection to identify their needs in order so that we can help them to feel connected to a peer so that they have that social drive to come to school in addition to those academics. Goal 2, wow, that was a long time for goal 1. My apologies. Academic growth, we're focusing on our vertical alignment in mathematics. Bottom left, same cohort class, prepping for their algebra test. They were posing. They asked to pretend to be in it. Yeah. In the middle is a classroom getting ready. And then Big Ideas Math is our 612 math curriculum that was adopted a while ago. So our staff is reviewing that. I apologize. The top right is our Cougar head logo. So it's a little updated along with our crest. And it's just blocked a little bit right now. All right, I think this one's a little shorter. Pillar 1 to improve vertical alignment in mathematics. What that means is 6 through 8 as being in the middle. We are going to work with our colleagues at the upper elementary all the way through the high school to see what we're doing as a collective so that students are flowing through from building to building and it's vertically aligned within curriculum, common language, and we are closing gaps where we are seeing patterns. We have a PLC or professional learning community at a 612 level. They started today. So as a content area, specifically in math, they're building common language or common vocabulary. There could be more than one way to explain and talk about a lot of different things in math. So while we can acknowledge the importance of those, we also look at what are some core operational definitions we need to use from fourth, fifth, sixth grade up through high school so that it's not confusing or unnecessary. Alignment in our instructional scope and sequence, and then refine grading practices for some equitable outcomes, much like the high school has been doing, especially when they have more than one teacher at a certain grade level. We're doing the same so that those the grading practices are more similar and more aligned. Something we're tracking is the percentage of students in that year-long algebra as ninth graders to show what we need to do in earlier grades to help put to see what type of percentages we're sending to semester-long algebra or year-long algebra and what needs that they have so that we are more prepared to send them to high school. They take PLC minutes and they're creating alignment maps or refining alignment maps during that time. Our goal this year is to start to reach down to our 4 or 5 friends to have some PLC and collaboration there, talking about what types of things they're doing in 4th and 5th grade math and how much time is being spent on that, and patterns and data that we're seeing at 6th grade so that we can align that so it's a more fluid transition academically up to the middle school. As we develop our MTSS or our multi-tiered systems of support, some data discussions to evaluate class offerings and intervention needs. As MTSS becomes something that we need to develop further, we need to review our intervention processes and how we're supporting students who have gaps in their learning. So the participation, the number of hours, and the PLC minutes will be measures for that. The 3 of the middle school teachers have been at a variety of building thinking classrooms mathematics trainings. I linked the book and the work there. So they're continuing to deepen their dive into that with common language, continuation of the practice and protocols. So a 6th grade, a 7th grade, and 8th grade math class can look pretty darn similar when it comes to some of the protocols of learning new concepts or review. We'll look at iReady scores in math and SBAC scores in math. And then embedding interims through SBAC, which is our state test. They'll take in spring. Interims are offered through the same platform. So teachers are embedding them into units and into their scope and sequence so that students have exposure and time on that platform so that it's not brand new to them the day they go to open that up and take their SBAC assessment in spring. And then it's alignment to our CCSS, which is Common Core State Standards in classes, and we'll look at SBAC scores. And that development of the MTSS process at the middle school level, this is important to math, but it's important to all areas, including SEL. Identifying students at each level, whether they're tier 1 or they're universal and have no needs for intervention, tier 2 or tier 3, whether that's math, ELA, or SEL needs that might be impacting their ability and access in a gen ed classroom. Working with staff, involving them in direct development and learning about that process, and then reviewing our interventions and approaches to differentiation. There's so many tools and technology today that we could utilize to help support students in their wide variety of needs. Hitting all of our things iReady scores. I'll show you our baseline in just a minute. SBAC, student grades, and then attendance. iReady Diagnostic is a K-8 assessment we use as in fall, winter, and spring. So every year students take that and then staff evaluates progress, looks at trends and gaps to identify areas to support math, and then of course ELA across content areas. Math is in social studies, math is in PE, math is in ELA, and vice versa. So looking at that and which sub areas we can support. Like Mr. Patton said, we have amazing technology, TOSAs, to help us enhance differentiation for student growth. There's a lot of tools and access through our technology TOSA to enhance our instructional methods and then differentiation. And then evaluating, like I said, the interdisciplinary role that math has, and to implement common vocabulary. Our science team was talking today about some statistical work they do in science. And so our next step will be working with our math team to make sure they're using similar vocabulary so that a student can go from their 7th grade science class to their 7th grade math class and carry the knowledge they learned in science, where they were applying the math, into the lesson that they have there. So a teacher in science is looking at a subcategory, and I'll flip to the next page to show you. So he's going to look at measurement and data as his student growth goal because he's going to target that. Even though he doesn't assess in math per se, he is teaching math as a science teacher, and his target is that sub area of measurement and data. This is our beginning of the year data for math for the iReady assessment. There's kind of that visual representation for you of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 is students needing no direct intervention at grade level in this content area. Tier 1, 9% needing a little intervention or some targeted areas based in just a couple subcategories. Tier 3, which is larger, we want to see that one shrink the most. Students with gaps in more than just 1 or 2 areas in math that need more targeted focus. So this is our baseline. Students took this the 3rd week of September as well to give us a good baseline, and then once use this information to start looking at interventions and strategies to support our learners. And that's me.
Comments or questions from folks up here behind the table?
First of all, I want to say thank you for including play with your staff. That just brings me so much joy. I'm also really excited about the Speak Up training and how it translates through all those grades. I also heard you mention that you have been using that, like trying to build that into your own vocabulary and practice. My question would be, or my curiosity as we move through the year would be how you are asking your staff to really begin digging into that and practice using those speak up words and that training, because it can take some time to feel comfortable with a new model. So I just have a curiosity moving forward around that. And if you have some thoughts about that right now, I'd love to hear them.
A thought I had initially was making some graphics to hang around the school, so it's easier to refer to or even point to if you don't yet have the verbal confidence to do it. You could utilize it or just as a reinforcer. So that's an idea that we've just started kind of brushing the baseline up, but sometimes it's nice to have those visual reinforcements that we could have in all classrooms, much like our cell phone policy and in common areas.
Thank you.
I have one very specific piece of praise that I liked in this presentation. When you showed the baseline wellness data, you immediately took action about it. You didn't wait to say like, well, let's wait and see what the next round of the data is going to be. And I really loved seeing that sense of urgency, because those are data that really correlate to how successful our students are going to be. And research shows that. And I just appreciate that you're really on top of improving those already.
And we bring kids to the office and we try to show them that the office isn't this big scary place, even though it's full of cubicles right now, but it's also welcoming them that like good things happen down here too. So that's another point of focus we try to aim for.
I also just wanted to thank you for the example you gave of how something that can support the people who are furthest from the experience that you want to offer will actually support every participant. And you gave the example of those 8 students who felt stressed by learning in a construction zone. You learned that wayfinding was a thing that would alleviate some of that stress. And so you offered wayfinding to every student in your program. And that's just such a great example of what I've heard called the curb cut effect, where the things that we do to close the gap for the people furthest from educational justice, for instance, actually uplift the experience of every person in the system.
I can't say how much I love the recognition going straight to home for positive celebrations. My wife is a teacher, and I know that for her, making those calls or writing those emails is an enormous high point in the experience. And so I love that you were recognizing that it has benefits not just for students and families, but also for staff. And I love the emphasis of it there. I've been really enjoying seeing, or I really enjoyed seeing the differences between how high school and middle school approach those same questions, just as one brief example of meeting students where they are, where it's developmentally appropriate for them. So kudos to both of you so far in how you've differentiated between those groups. I'm going to be interested. I wonder if we will see a temporary rise in referral data with the widespread training in harmful language recognition. So I'll be curious to see the data that comes in the winter and then the spring, to see if there's a little rise and then a dip, which is what I would expect to see. But it'll be very interesting to see what it is.
And I think as Dr. Clifford and our team was getting ready to work on some development, we didn't want to rush it, because when we met with our staff, I think we were recognizing that this is there's a really fine finesse to how we bring this up and how we teach it without having this burst of negative interaction.
Thank you. One definition I wanted to note for those following along at home or in the room, TOSA is teacher on special assignment. It's someone who is not specifically in a teaching classroom. They may also do that, but it is someone who has a special assignment with library sciences or technology or various other positions.
Thank you. We'll make a book someday and people can just have it to refer to.
We wouldn't be able to carry that book.
Fine.
And I just wanted to share my appreciation for the presentation and all the details that have come through each of them so far. And I wanted to specifically call in our students if they had anything that they've noticed about their experiences that this might change, or anything that's leapt out at them. I know that there's a lot of dense information in this, but just wanted to make sure that you felt welcome to chime in.
Yeah, I think it like serves as a really good reminder that student experience is also as important as student learning, and making sure that every student feels seen and safe and heard is super important.
And yeah, as some people were saying, I appreciate how you really are taking the time to talk to the students who are maybe in the no category of some of the surveys, because I feel like people are going to see that as, wow, when we do these surveys, they're actually looking at them and they're taking the time to help us when we answer them. Because I feel like that can kind of be misunderstood, because I feel like when some students are like, oh, another survey, like we don't really want to do it. But I feel like when people are actually taking action for the results, it's really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh. Oopsie. That's right. The show must go on. I'll let somebody else. It's all right. No worries. Sweep that off a little bit there. Well, this gives me a chance to go off script a little bit. I'm Susie Richards. I'm the principal of the elementary school. I'm really excited to have my wonderful assistant principal, Kristen Coda, here cleaning my computer for me. Thank you.
Susie, this is your last one.
I know. I could just, I'm having a lot of lasts right now. I just want to start by saying I'm really grateful everybody is here tonight. It means so much to us when our community shows up, and we all care about the same thing. We care about our kids and our community. I'm blessed enough. I grew up in this community. I graduated from these schools. My husband graduated from these schools. My children graduated from these schools. And it's really been my honor to serve this school district for the last many, many years, with little voyages in between. And I just know we all want the same thing, what's best for our kids. And so thank you very much for being here tonight. Just going to jump in. Lots of celebrations that I want to talk about. This one with me and the little one, I wanted to share that. That's one of our 4-year-olds. We were very fortunate 2 years ago to be able to start what's called an ITK, Inclusionary Transitional Kindergarten, and that's for 4-year-olds. So we have 17 little 4-year-olds running around in our building, free all day school for them, free transportation, free meals. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And those kiddos then move right into kindergarten next year. For families that can't afford the, whatever it is, $2,000 a month to send a child to childcare, it's just a big gift to our community and our families. So big celebration there. If you walk in our hallways, this is just an example of how much our staff cares. You see the beautiful home of the orcas and the Orca Code. 2 of our paraeducators and some of our students actually came in this summer and spent days and days painting those beautiful murals to make our building a better place for our kids. And then this picture on the top is my office. Once a month, it's one of my biggest pleasures. We call students up. They come in over the announcement and say, so-and-so, please go to the principal's office. And they come in and we get to celebrate with them as they've been noted as a Orca Student of the Month. Our Orca Code is being safe, respectful, responsible, and kind, and that's what we really focus on with our kids. Next slide, please. Oh, Kristen's got the clicker. You've seen all this. We have the same goals. We've, of course, brought those down to each level. So next slide, please. What we did with our staff is we took our district goal and then we met as a staff and said, what does this look like for you and our kids here at the elementary school? And so this is the goal, talking about our staff. And like Kayla mentioned, if our staff's not in harmony with one another, children are so perceptive, right? And they know when there's trauma and drama happening. And so cohesion, connection, open communication with our staff is so important. And I think one of the things that I'm proudest of during my time here is the culture of our school. The way our staff cares about one another and cares about our kids and our families. And so this is really building upon that, that we can have those tough conversations when we have to, because we also have fun together and trust one another. We asked our staff, as part of our work, is why does this matter? Why does this goal matter? You know, it came down to us from above, right? From the board and Dr. Clifford. Why do you think it matters for us? And so this is really important to me. This is words from our teachers, that we know that when we're good, our kids are going to be good. Next slide, please. So again, you've seen this before. I'm going to go through this a little more quickly because you want to hear more about math too, and Kristen's going to talk about math with us. But again, that Speak Up at School trainings, we've really had a great time with it so far. Teachers, you know, this is around when you hear something that you know isn't right, but you don't quite know what to say, right? It's hard, even for a teacher, it's hard. And so helping us to learn, how do we interrupt? How do we engage in those conversations with adults and children in a respectful way that helps them to learn that language can be super hurtful to people. And so that's been really positive. Dr. Clifford kicked us off, and then our building leadership team. Just so you know what, you've heard BLT. It's not a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. My husband always says, got a BLT meeting. It's a teacher from each grade band, and they're like the lead teacher of that grade band. And we come together every 2 weeks, and we plan and we work together. And so they have really been a key part of this Speak Up at School training. The next one is, again, like we've talked, having some fun. If you walk into in fact, I think Dr. Clifford, you came in last week to our staff lounge. 2 of our paraeducators had decorated the whole place. They made soup one day. They, you know, just taking care of one another, feeding one another. You know, and that opportunity for connection is so, so important. We have 8 new teachers on our staff this year. It's really exciting what's happened. If you haven't heard, we got to hire a new kindergarten teacher because our kindergarten numbers were so big, and a 5th grade teacher we just got to hire. So it's really exciting to see our enrollment increasing and bringing new people into our building, that beautiful blend of people who've been here and are older, like some of us, and then this, you know, new folks who have experience with teaching, but from different communities. And then we have 1, 2, 3 teachers in our community who lived here, raised their children here, went back to school, and are now teachers in our community. And that's just such a gift. You know, that, again, that community, that culture. Yeah, and I talked about BLT and their leadership. That's a critical piece. None of us are top-down leaders. We all are very, very committed to collaboration with both our families and our staff. Next slide, please. Again, this is the one around students' feeling of safety and belonging. Next slide, please. Again, our teachers took this goal and they made it specifically for us at the elementary school, and then why it matters. And again, it's that safety, inclusion, and proud to be a part of South Whidbey. We want every kid to feel proud to be a part of this school, part of this community. They see themselves as active and engaged citizens, even at this young age. That's, you know, we sometimes think a child is going to turn 18 and automatically know what it means to be a citizen. And we have to help them with that. We have to help them understand that they have a voice and they can contribute and they can give back, and that their learning matters in that way. And our staff really felt like when every child feels that sense of safety and connection and belonging, that helps their emotional regulation. And if they're not emotionally regulated, it's really hard to learn. So you hear all this talk about SEL, and it's because children have to feel safe to learn. We all know how that is. If you're like this, you can't take things in, you can't learn. And so that foundation of making them feel loved and cared for and belonging to our schools is so critical, especially at this very young age. You know, we've got children coming to us who've never stepped in a school before. They don't know what it's like. And so we help them to feel belonging here. Yeah, and that sense of pride. And then comes that ability to engage academically and see themselves as learners. And again, here are activities and results and measures. Swiss data, we have little things called blue slips. If you've ever heard of about somebody getting a blue slip, that's a disciplinary referral. And we write those up. We meet with the children. We do restorative conversations. Krista and I do a lot of those every day. And then we enter that into our data system, and we can print reports and tell us, okay, last month, the majority of discipline referrals were coming from the playground. What do we need to do? Well, we need to get another person out there to help support a safe environment. You know, wherever it is, we really look at that data on an ongoing basis, and what are those patterns and what are those proactive interventions that we can engage in, and that's just ongoing. We do student support team meetings every 2 weeks, and that's a key piece of it. Daily morning circles. If you walk in any classroom at South Woodby Elementary School between 9:15, you're going to see circles. They look different. They don't all look the same, but that Caring School Community, SEL, talking to one another, learning about one another. Students of the week, you know, they bring in stuff and talk about their family and what they love. Every child gets those opportunities. Assemblies, clubs, leadership roles, school-wide celebrations. Our wonderful school psychologist, Erin Gutzmer, is leading our school leadership teams this year. We have 65 students. Anybody in 4th or 5th grade who applies to be a student leader gets to be one, whether it's working in the kindergarten classroom or being on ASB or being a mediator or sitting up the assembly. Everybody who wants to be a leader gets that opportunity, and more kids are wanting that and asking for that. And then when they move into middle school, that's just, you know, a part of what they do, of who they are. And again, that engagement and pride in their school community. And then finally, again, the Sarah Domingos and that training to help our kiddos with behavioral regulation. A lot of teachers, this is new for them. A lot of our teachers who've been in this business for a long time, that wasn't really a part of their training, how to support kids who are coming from trauma, how to support kids who have big challenges happening in their lives. And so it's a critical piece because, again, they can't learn if they're dysregulated and struggling to deal with that. I want to give a couple shout outs real quick as we're talking about social emotional learning. This community keeps coming forward and supporting us. We lost a couple days of mental health support this year, which is so critical for our kids through our ESD. We have a mental health therapist 2 days a week, and we knew we needed more. Wrote a grant to the Woodby Community Foundation. We just got a note. They gave us $9,500 to bring in a local therapist, Kathy Hines. She's amazing. She's worked with kids in this community for a long time. She'll be doing small groups and doing more support for our kids. So grateful for that. We lost a lot of funding last year for our outdoor education programs. And this lovely lady sitting in front of me right here, Meg Gluckman, one of our 5th grade parents, said, I'm going to help. And she reached out to this incredible group of young people who graduated from our schools. They call themselves the South Woodby Project. They put together a nonprofit, and their entire mission is to support our schools. I'm going to get emotional here. And they just donated $10,000 to us to send our whole 5th grade back to camp this year because we lost that funding from the state. So this community just continues to come forward and support our students and support our schools. Clubs, I want to give a couple shout outs. If you're a veteran, we're going to have our Veterans Day Assembly. Do you remember the date? Get this out. We'll get this out in the newsletter and the Navigator. Our singing club, there's 35 kids in our singing club, and they have been practicing songs. She came to me today and she said, the Veterans Day Assembly is just going to be kids singing these songs because they love it so much. So we've got 35 kids who are going to sing for the Veterans Day Assembly. Our wonderful Anne leads the drama club for our students. We have chess club, we have robotics, we have just so many wonderful clubs. A 4th grader came up to me today and said, I don't know if I should go to, I can't remember what he said, chess or recorder. And I'm like, well, go to, take one day this week and go to another one next week. Knitting club, so many wonderful things for our kids. November 7th, 2 o'clock. If you're around and you're a veteran, please join us. What else? I think that is it for me. Did I get all my notes here? Yes. Now I am going to pass it over to Kristen to talk about, although I'm going to talk about the first, because I just want to really quick go to the next slide, if you would, Christy, and then I'm going to pass it to Kristen. Could you talk about that?
Okay. I get it now. I know what you mean. Hi, I'm Kristen Coda. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. It's nice to see so many faces. I wasn't quite expecting it compared to the last board meeting that I presented at, but I'm getting better each time. So you're just in time to see me present. So this is our school-wide goal that is aligned with the district goal, which is centered around, so goal 2, pillar 1, around strengthening our foundational math fluency across the grades. And so this is going to be focused on fact fluency, place value, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, so that students can build confidence and are able to access those higher level problem solving skills. And that why this goal matters, that's what Susie spoke to before. Our staff came together and really brought this to our attention of why does this matter, so they know what's at the heart of it. That foundational skills are critical for student success across all math strands and ensure access to more complex tasks throughout the grades. And that's also speaking back to what Kayla was mentioning about, we know that they're not math learners just K through 5, that their learning continues as they go into middle school and high school. And we want to make sure that there's connectivity across the grades.
Okay, and I'm just going to talk for a second because I'm so excited about what we did. We came in early when Dr. Clifford first arrived. We said we need to do an audit of our math program and just see what is really happening. So right in August, the second day we came back together, our teachers engaged by grade level teams in this math audit. And then we took all the results of that. And Christy, if you can go to that key findings, and it was so great to learn some of the key things that teachers are saying. How much time's being dedicated? Is it consistent? Are we using it daily? Not everybody. And these are some of the things that as we dive deeper in, we know that we have to look at closely. That's great. You can jump back to the other one. I just wanted to give a quick access of that. And then our teachers were given those key findings. We all met in this room. We spent a lot of time together in this room to work not only on our building-wide math goals, but their grade level math goals. And we don't need to open that, but then they completed a whole document about all that alignment from district to building to their grade level. So it's been really exciting work and just incredible buy-in from our teachers.
Thank you. Okay, so these are our academic growth activities, the key results and the measures. The first thing that Susie was just speaking about is engaging our staff in analyzing, well, first participating in and then analyzing our math audit. So we did that and we took those key findings to help improve our vertical and horizontal alignment. And our measure will be our spring and fall math audit. We're developing strategies for supporting math fluency and automaticity throughout the grade levels. Just recently, I think it was last Tuesday, we had 5 teachers from the elementary school participate in a ESD training centered on math fact fluency, where they got to learn a lot of fun games and some teaching strategies that they're now bringing back to the elementary staff. So we're excited to learn more about that through them. In addition to that, we're also going to be incorporating these fluency building strategies into all classes in other ways that we already know and that we can lean on that are provided through the curriculum. Our measures will be classroom tools to monitor progress, including fluency checks, and then we'll have a spring math audit. Our professional development is focused on math instruction. I spoke a little bit about that with the recent professional development that some of our teachers engaged in, but our teachers also came together and we're really excited when they heard Tina Mott's name, actually, and they recalled a few years ago that she came to our school and provided some instructional coaching and some PD for our staff. And they were really eager to have her back and help engage in this work. And so that was an exciting win, would say, that we have a lot of teacher buy-in with our professional development this year. And we were able to call on her to participate in our professional development training this year, which will be focused on math fact fluency. And then we'll have a survey to engage with staff to find out what kind of instructional practices and changes have they made as a result of this professional development. Finally, we'll be utilizing curriculum to support teaching strategies and engage students in their learning. So Susie talked about looking at that survey, identifying what areas do we need to improve so that we have more engagement amongst our staff so that we're implementing that curriculum with fidelity. And then we'll be looking at student growth toward grade level proficiency, which we know is important in addition to the math fact fluency. And we'll have a spring audit, iReady data, and end of lesson and unit assessments. And then through all of this, we'll also be providing targeted intervention for students that are identified at risk. And that's K through 5, though in the kindergarten classroom, that is more classroom and teacher-led rather than having an interventionist come and work with those students. So we'll have small group instruction for students needing foundational math intervention. And then also another small group intervention that is targeted towards more conceptual grade level concepts. So there might be some students that have the foundation but needs more support in foundation in their grade level concept areas. So we'll have that as well. And our measures for that would just be ongoing identification of students through the comprehension checks that are offered in the classroom through iReady. And then pre and post assessments will measure growth within those intervention groups. And then this is the part that I get excited about. All of it's exciting, but I do love data. So here is I just feel this is a real reason to celebrate. We have 71% of our students that are ready to receive grade level instruction in math. Our tier 2 students are at 20%. And then we do have some at risk for tier 3, and those will be the students that we're looking closely at for intervention, in addition to some of the tier 2 students.
Kristen, you have no at-risk students
In grades
in
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed that.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Like in any district. That's amazing.
I agree. I'm really excited about it. We all should be. We're really celebrating that. So thank you for pointing that out. That's all I have. So any questions for Susie or I?
Two really quick things. I would be really interested to know how many of the kiddos who are in ITK then advanced to kindergarten, because I was really excited about our robust kindergarten numbers this year. And so that's just a little data point that would be really interesting to know. And then the other thing, again, concentrating on the social emotional learning and social support for staff members as well. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts around how you might measure when your staff gets to a place where they can have an authentic or difficult conversation and can feel like that is feeding them rather than is, traumatizing.
Do you want to answer for that?
If you have anything to share, absolutely. It's definitely a curiosity.
Don't have that to share, except that I'm excited about, we are going to be working as a team to develop some staff surveys that are relevant to our staff. Sometimes the surveys that we use are very helpful in some ways, but our own developed for those kind of measures. I'm really excited about that work.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I need to come back to grades 1 and 2. Because in particular, I know that grade 2 band, because I have a little bit of self-interest in that grade 2 band, did not always have green and yellow, that there was red in that grade 2 band, and now it is gone.
Yeah. And so I just want to also be cautious for you to know that this is the beginning of the year view, which is great. So we're looking at data. So sometimes at the standard year view, you're going to see more of that deficit as the year goes on. But I think that's a shout out to our teachers. Of course, all these teachers are doing amazing jobs, but I know for a fact that our first grade teachers are really, really I would say the drivers and the curriculum and that we're using and make sure that it's being used the way that it's intended. And they have excellent teaching strategies that are accounting for that. And then I'm sure there's a lot of at-home support too, which can really contribute to that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Beautiful.
Oh, and kindergarten teachers, right? Because you mentioned grade 1. So yeah, we have
Yeah.
our the past year's kindergarten teachers too.
And kindergartners will take their first assessment in the winter, correct?
At first, I ready. That's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
walk kids before that.
Now that I've seen all the buildings, I've got some general overall feedback and questions. First of all, I can tell from the commonality of the formats and the language and the approaches that you're using through every building, even though it's customized to be age appropriate, I can just tell that this is a team that works well together and is focused on the students' like entire journey through South Whitby. I really appreciate that. My wonderment is around the key results and metrics. If there's a way to make them more into SMART goals, so at the end of the year, we can be really crisp on celebrating the successes and having some curiosity on the metrics that didn't move the way we wanted them to.
Can I make a comment on that? Just really quickly. It's really interesting, Joe, I don't know if you've had a chance to see the changes in the student growth goals that OSPI has put out. The goal focuses are changing in some really interesting ways around, you know, it used to be 80% of kids are going to score at this or above, and now it's looking at a much more holistic approach. And I'd love to share some of that information with you all. So I'm not disagreeing at all, but how do we make that even bigger and better in a sense?
And that's a really welcome change because it helps capture some of our students who are not necessarily going to be on the same learning path as other students. And so when we had our goals because I remember doing these as a teacher of 80% of our students will pass, blah, 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 blah. It was really hard as a special ed teacher knowing that my students were not likely to be part of that 80%. And so it really penalized students when we wrote goals that way. And it also really it was hard as teaching staff to come at it from that perspective. And I think when we look at things from a value added perspective, so how much growth has each individual student made, it allows teachers to really differentiate that and individualize that. So down to like, I would have been able to take my student IEP goals and say, this student made this much progress on their specific goals. Therefore, this was a successful year for that student versus saying, sorry, you didn't make 80% of you making standard.
So first of all, please don't yes, I may have been misunderstood. It doesn't have to look like that old school style. I think there's ways to make SMART goals that don't have to be like, yeah, we're going to move from 80 to 82 or whatever it is, as long as the M in SMART is measurable. And there's lots of different ways to measure progress or to measure changes in a school system. And so, yeah, I don't want to inadvertently provide feedback that's going to either put us at odds with educational best practices or create, further disadvantaged students who are further from educational justice. And then lastly, I would love to see that, the new OSPI guidance. Thank you.
I just really quickly want to say thank you for that feedback. One of the things that I think we're doing this year is also getting some baseline data and identifying how we're looking at our data, so that then as we go into future years, we can be get a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more savvy. The student growth goals, this is year 2 of the implementation of those new changes. So figuring out how we want to look as a collective, still having high standards, high expectations. We still have to meet the Common Core state standards. We're aligning to those, but also coming from a holistic student approach. Of saying, how do we make growth through student engagement, social emotional learning, and academic progress. And so it is a progress, making progress with, while also aligning with state standards. So that was a long way to say that I think this is going to be a building year, and we'll continue to deepen our practice. And this will be a good data set for us to then tighten up and figure out how we embed the student growth goals and get to a SMART goal that really represents and elevates our work in a way that aligns with both of those things.
Thank you all for this discussion. I just wanted to throw out a twist, which is the SMARTY goal, specific, measurable, what is A? Achievable, relevant, time-bound, inclusive, and equitable. So I think what we're looking for is a SMARTY goal for some of these key objectives, and that's exciting work.
I wanted to give another call out to the community support. This is another example of how amazing this community is. And as someone who went to school here, was part of the second class to go through this building, this has been a constant. And it's so amazing to see the community support continuing through another generation of parents and students, or families and students attending South Woodbury Elementary School. I also want to give a shout out for having those student leadership positions open to anyone who applies. That is so amazing. My daughter is part of that group, and a very enthusiastic and excited part of that group. And having that opportunity has absolutely increased her excitement to be at school. So I very much appreciate that. And I know that she's very much looking forward to the emphasis on math this year, because she's a little math nerd. And that's wonderful. I say that with all love, considering myself a nerd as well. So that's not a pejorative. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you all very much for providing so much detail and data. As I recall from years past, these school improvement plans will be available on the website shortly if they are not already. So if your eyes are a little tired from squinting at that screen, even though it's very big, it's across a room, they will be available to look at on the website. Before we move on to the next step, I'm going to suggest everyone take 1 minute and stand up. We just did an hour and a half, more than an hour and a half on this. So just take a moment to stand up, stretch, and we'll get back into it. A reasonable hour. Okay, thank you very much. We will now turn to the next point on our agenda, which is our student board members report. So we'll turn it over to Representatives Stobmeyer and Russo.
Okay. At the high school, we recently had our homecoming spirit week with a lot of fun activities and spirit days. So there's like Color Fest, like Top Gun, volleyball, frisbee, that type of thing. And that led up to our homecoming dance, and the theme was Tangled Under the Lights. And everyone had a lot of fun at that, I think. And I've heard a lot of good things about it. The band will have their Creepy concert on December 30th. And that should be really good. Lots of Halloween music. And the Spanish Club, oh, that's actually you.
So Spanish Club had a bake sale last week. We always hold 2-day bake sales, and we raised $100 for a student in Guatemala. We sponsor a student, and so we have a goal to raise $300 per year, and we've raised a third of that already, which is amazing. Girls soccer is heading to the playoffs. The SAT and PSAT have happened over the past couple weeks. And then pink nights and senior nights have happened for a lot of the fall sports, which I know are really enjoyable and just fun to attend. And then the Falcon's Nest is now open, and students have been really enjoying getting drinks and little snacks during lunch. And then the club fair is tomorrow. At the middle school, the ASB is hosting a bake sale at lunch this week, and the funds go to support school-wide celebrations so they can remain free. The middle school is hosting their Harvest Hangout next week during the school day to give students opportunities for activities and social connections to celebrate the end of the first quarter. Fall sports wrap up today. They had a cross-country meet, and it was a fantastic season for everyone. Volleyball had a huge turnout with many wins, and football played the best I've seen in years, says the head coach. And then in all, 106 South Whitby Middle School students participated in a fall sport. Winter 1 sports start on Monday, the 27th, girls soccer and boys basketball. They also have their Creepy concert on October 30th. And then the leadership classes worked really hard to create bright, clean, and positive posters around South Whitby, like the middle school campus. And I personally have seen them, and I think they're really cute, and they make me laugh. And so, I don't know, just being in that space is positive. And 2 new clubs have been established, the Kindness Club and the Art Club.
And for the elementary school, they have recently been having their like safety drills and presentations on the drill process just in case of an emergency. And there was, I think, bingo sponsored by the PTA, which supports a bunch of projects happening at this school, so it benefits the students. And yeah, leadership positions have been chosen in like assembly crew, classroom helpers, mediators, and ASB, and everyone's included in that, which is super cool. And yeah, students of the month have been getting certificates, which is super fun. And the Orca store is open too for, I mean, I guess whatever you want to buy from the Orca store. And clubs have began last week, and playground construction is still coming along pretty well. And there are free national park entrance for 4th graders, which is super awesome.
Thank you. May I please ask a clarifying question? Could you please restate the date of the Creepy concert? I'm not sure I heard it clearly.
October 30th, so next Thursday.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions from the board? I really appreciate your call out of the laughter and brightness that student decorations can bring to the school. I think that's a fantastic just recognition that school can be fun. And I did not know about the free national park entrance for 4th graders, so thank you for letting me know. Okay, thank you very much. We will move on in our agenda, which means we will be moving into public comment. As we do so, I will note if you are in this room and would like to make a public comment, before you do so, you need to go back and sign up with Ms. McCarroll in the back. She's got her hand up if you would like to make a comment there. If you are in the Zoom call, I know that we've got nearly 40 people here in this room, and we've had 20 to 23 people throughout the evening online. So if you are in the Zoom call and would like to make a comment, please use the Q&A function, which is under the More icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen. There's that Q&A function there, and use that to enter your name, location, and then type up the comment. Reminder, we will be having 3 minutes for each public comment because there are so many folks here. With that stated, Ms. McCarroll, who's first on the list? Please come on up. Sorry, there are a lot of new folks here who have not been to a board meeting. When you're making public comment, please come on up here and address the board with your comment. And please do start with your name and general location, please.
Bob Mashmet, Clinton.
And also, Mr. Nashman, please address the board, if you will. This is public comment to the board.
Yeah. I graduated 1961, and 64 years ago, we just recently had our class reunion and with grandparents and great-grandparents, and we're concerned about the school. Most of what we talked about was the high school. I was certainly impressed with the presentation here tonight, but we had some recommendations for the high school. I know when we talk about everybody feeling comfortable at school and having a safe place to go and so forth, we found that in 3 different areas we agreed on with the parents that were there, grandparents that is. Shop class was a real big deal back in 1961, I guess. We really carried the load. And the second thing was home economics. We felt strongly that that was a big part of our high school And third surprise, it was third one was what we grew on was driver's training. We really built a rapport with Coach Lear and our instructor and so forth. Another idea we had was Grandparents' Day. I have a grandson in school over in Seattle, and I go to Grandparents' Day every year. Now he's a senior, and they're still having Grandparents' Day, and they fly in from all over the country to come to Grandparents' Day, and we really feel privileged to do that. And some kids don't have grandparents; they'll bring an uncle or an aunt or some other, but it really involved. Most of all, we're interested in how we could participate in financially or of our time in one of those endeavors that I mentioned. 4-H was also mentioned as a real positive influence we feel in high school. And I don't know if those programs are ever being considered or still being done somewhat, but it didn't sound like they're kind of in the past tense. So I'm an old schooler, and we really appreciate Whidbey Island, and it's a wonderful place to live and a great place to raise a family. So thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your observations and suggestions.
So I went to school here also. Cohorts in my day were people we got into trouble with. So it's a little different. The terminology is different. I now drive a special needs school bus for Everett School District. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate all the things that you are putting into play here, and the way that you are recognizing what people need, kids need, and the support that they're getting, because that was not something that was happening when I was going to school here. Even though lovely place, loved growing up here, my family goes back forever. My great-grandfather donated the land for the first school at Mutiny Bay. Excuse me. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all the changes. I appreciate the principal's office does not mean the SWAT tool. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
If you'd like to just leave that on after you speak.
I'm
that would be
Rufus
helpful.
Rose. I live off Max Welton Road. Some time ago, I believe this year, the athletic director made a comment that I wanted to pursue. The essence of the comment was that he had students in sports who had told him that they would leave school except for the sports. You probably remember that comment. The briefing that I've heard this evening led me to believe that it may be useful to pursue a specific attention with the athletic director to see if those students, if he can, I assume he can identify those students, and that they might be given this program you're talking about may be useful to them to change their mind about leaving school.
Thank you for sharing the idea.
I'm not smarter than the microphone.
Yeah, it's not particularly easy to work with. We don't have anyone else signed up in person, and I do not see any Q&A here. Oh, sorry, please. Yes.
No, I'm just gonna grab it. Hello, my name is Kari McKnight. I'm a student at South Whidbey, used to be a student representative. I'm here to express my full support for gender neutral bathrooms. And I think that boils down to three big reasons: inclusion, privacy, and mainly just inclusion and privacy and choice. Gender neutral bathrooms give a choice to students who are outside the gender binary. There are people who may be a boy but look like a boy, maybe a boy but look like a girl. There are people who look like a girl but may look like a boy. And there are people who are transgender and non-binary at our school. And these people really don't have options right now for places to go to the bathroom unless they want to hike across the school to the 2 gender-neutral bathrooms at the complete other end of the school than where everyone has their classes. And gender-neutral bathrooms offer a place for these students to have privacy while they go to the bathroom. And the other reason is that these bathrooms offer the privacy in the sense that they're ceiling to floor, full privacy. And if you look at our bathrooms right now, you have massive gaps in them. Most of the locks are broken, so you actually can't really lock the bathroom doors. And overall, they're just flimsy, and there's no privacy whatsoever for these bathrooms. Gender-neutral bathrooms offer full privacy for students. Whoever wants to use them can get that. I think that's really important for many students. I'd like to stress that places like UW, Target, hundreds of thousands of businesses across the nation, airplanes, restaurants, all sorts of places already have gender-neutral bathrooms. It's not some uncommon thing. Everyone has gender-neutral bathrooms. The question of whether they're at school, I think, should be pretty obviously a yes. And the main thing is just that it's individual stalls, from what I've heard, plus a shared hand washing station. And some people have been railing against that, saying bad things, but the thing is, we have that same system in our elementary school right now. We have a shared hand washing station with then actual bathrooms otherwise. And I'd like to stress again that same thing that you were talking about earlier with the cut curb effect, they benefit everyone with the increased privacy and overall just inclusion for everyone, and they're really essential for students at our school, and we need them. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing some of the student perspective.
Okay. I'm kind of rambling off some notes I wrote on my phone, so bear with me. But my name's Reed Atwood. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a sophomore at the high school. And I hope I can just like represent what students think about it, because I've heard around the community kind of that some people don't agree with it, but I was just kind of bringing in my perspective. And I've even had to talk to my grandparents about like how they didn't have gender neutral bathrooms back in their day, but I just kind of wanted to say that there's like a lot of different mental health and stresses, like I would say problems going just teens in general, but the stresses of different social media pressures and social pressures, and also watching our country become more divided and polarized. I think that people just have a hard time fitting in and trying to find their identity, especially within a small school, not always finding your people or being in one of the cliques. So I think that the gender neutral bathrooms are really crucial for people to feel comfortable, and it's a crucial that they feel included and safe where they spend their most time, and how high school can really shape what they become after high school. So I just really support having gender neutral bathrooms, and I think inclusion for all and things that we stand for, and gender neutral bathrooms are part of that.
Thank you for sharing another student perspective. I will note, while someone is speaking, please refrain from speaking within the audience so we can give respect to the people who are speaking. Thank you.
Got it together. Hi, board, and thank you, just so much thanks. Hi, Kayla. My name is Belinda Griswold. I live on the line between Langley and Freeland. I'm a parent at the high school. I'm a community member. I am so much invested in public education here in South Whidbey. Our schools are the hub of our community, and I am so proud of all the work that you all have been doing to keep improving them. That is the way in our community, as so many people noted. I see all the effort that you've taken to include the community, to give us chances to participate in all the processes around the bond and new curriculum and all the things. You're actually welcoming and inclusive, and it's seen and noted and appreciated because that's how we are on South Whidbey, and you exemplify that. We deserve transparent, principled leadership, and you all are providing that. I see that you are focused on learning and on care and on academic improvement and the foundation of academic improvement, which is social emotional learning. I know that there's been a lot of innuendo and hatred, frankly, out there, and I just want to say on my behalf and my students' behalf, my friends' behalf, and our community's behalf, and my family's behalf, that does not represent our community. That is not who we are. We are an inclusive, welcoming, clear, loving community that works together for the good. And I thank you all very much for doing that and for continuing to push that forward today and all the days. So thanks.
Thank you for sharing that viewpoint and appreciation.
I'll hold it. Hi, I'm Diana Sandoval. I live in Freeland, and my son graduated from South Whidbey High School several years back. I want to say, 25 years ago, I was part of a paradigm shifting parenting program that talked about how important it was, how important children's social and emotional development was, and that it was the basis of all learning and growth. And back then, we had to do a lot of persuading to convince people that that was important. And I'm just so amazed and so happy to see that it's been so integrated into our schools. It's unbelievable. It's much needed. And so I'm here. The way when I think about the proposals to build all gender bathrooms, I think of it as related to children's social and emotional needs. That sense of belonging, that sense of safety, a place. And I want to recognize that probably the impetus for this is those kids who identify as trans or non-binary. So it's a small percentage of kids, but it's like that canary in a coal mine. If they don't feel safe, that's telling us something. And the curb cut theory that Marnie mentioned earlier, if they feel safe and they feel like there's a place they can go to do the most private thing, then we can all feel safe. As human beings, we all have this drive to feel safe and belong. And sometimes what happens is that drive is so strong that we tend to do the opposite of what's needed. We tend to other people. We tend to make other people feel less safe. And so when we do that, when we scapegoat the people that are easy to target, like trans or non-binary people, that's really a slippery slope. And eventually more and more people will be targeted and not feel safe. So I really compliment our community and our district for just standing with our values and wanting to feel the most vulnerable, wanting them to feel safe and belonging. And I want to say that even though they're the most vulnerable, they're maybe the easiest to target, they're not the weakest. Can you imagine being someone as a young person who feels different, who feels like maybe they don't belong, they don't fit the norm, and make other people uncomfortable? Can you imagine showing up in school fully yourself? I mean, they are not weak, they are strong. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience and perspective.
I'm from an older generation, and change is sometimes hard for me. And I didn't do my homework on one issue facing our district. Yesterday, I did my homework about gender-neutral restrooms. Every reference and major study I found supported gender-neutral restrooms. American Institute of Architects, the NIH, American Psychological Association, UCLA School of Law, University of Nebraska, Colorado State University, University of Oregon, Western Washington University, and many, many other universities. Washington State OSPI, and so many K through 12 school districts across the nation all endorse gender-neutral restrooms. I also talked with an employee of the Oak Harbor School District and found out this person can't wait for gender-neutral restrooms to be put in. The building this person works in has a major problem with backups lines to one of the restrooms. And Lisa Honold, Director of Online Safety, clearly pointed out the cyberbullying being done on social media connected to restrooms. If we want to protect our students from having their pictures spread all over the internet and the dark web, then gender-neutral restrooms with floor-to-ceiling stalls is the only answer to this problem. But there is also state law, WAC 162-3260, allowing use of public facilities, quote, that are consistent with the individual's gender expression or gender identity, unquote. Thank you, Dr. Clifford, and all student board directors for doing your jobs and following our state laws. I wholeheartedly support this district moving forward with gender-neutral restrooms. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your perspective and research.
Wendy Gabeline, Freeland. A couple things, clarification. I don't think the issue at hand is just the concept of gender neutral. The bigger issue, and what I've tried to bring out during debates, is the lack of transparency, the lack of honesty when this whole concept came about. You guys say that you have a bond committee with, you've got community input. There's one community member on that bond committee. And then as far as your bond meetings, I attended those. I don't recall any conversations around gender neutral bathrooms. So basically over the summer, somehow the conversation continued without community input, without conversation with staff. So I think the bigger issue and my issue, because I have no problem with gender neutral bathrooms. I have no problem with LGBT community. I have transgender family members and LGBT family members. I have no problem with that. I will walk across coals for these people. What I do have a problem with is lack of transparency, lack of honesty, and lack of including the community input. Because this doesn't just affect you. This doesn't just affect staff. This affects the whole community. And that right there is an example of how you as a board can do better. And I think if nothing else, the community deserves a chance to have their input on this conversation moving forward. And I'd really encourage you to actually do that for once.
Thank you for sharing that perspective and your suggestion. Okay, that's everyone in person. We do have 3 online. I'm just glancing through here just to make sure that we have names and locations from all of them, and we do. So I will read them out. The first one is from Irene Vernon, Langley resident. I would like to thank the South Whidbey School District Board for their consideration of installing all gender bathrooms that contain separate stalls that are fully enclosed, safe from floor to ceiling with common hand washing area. These bathrooms allow for inclusivity, accessibility, as well as safety. I applaud the school board for listening to students, addressing the needs of all students, and forward-moving action. Thank you very much, Irene, for sharing your perspective. The next one is from Angie Hudkins, Freeland. I support the building of inclusive mixed-use bathrooms at our high school, middle school campus. I trust the design and layout will be guided by research and best practices in alignment with developmental appropriateness. I trust our district will draw on lessons learned from other schools who have provided mixed-use bathrooms. I believe this to be very forward-thinking of the district, and if designed well, will lead to greater student safety. Thank you for sharing that viewpoint. The last one we have here is from Jenica Serta, parent, community member, and theater educator here in Langley. We are wholly in support of single occupancy restrooms as well. Thank you to the board and the majority of the community for following all contemporary scholarship that tells us that single occupancy bathrooms help provide enhanced safety and inclusion for transgender and non-binary individuals, greater privacy for all users, and increased efficiency for facilities. Thank you for sharing that perspective as well. That is the sum total of the online public comment. So we will move out of the public comment period and move onwards with our agenda into new business. We have 4 action items on the new business portion of our agenda tonight. The first is Memorandum 252603, approval of the school improvement plans. We'll open it up for discussion and debate among those here behind the tables. I know that we've just had fantastic presentations and had some discussion with those as well. So I don't know if that's how much discussion there's going to be, but if there is any, now is the time for it. Hearing none, we'll move on. Could I get advisory votes from our student representatives on this memorandum?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, both of you. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 252603, approval of the school improvement plans, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum passes. Next one, Memorandum 252604, approval of WASDA Model Policy 1815, ethical conduct for school directors. This is one that we discussed at our last meeting. I believe that there were no changes to this one. This is recommended but not required. Is there any further discussion on this item? Okay. Could we get advisory votes from our student representatives, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving Memorandum 252604, approval of the WASDA Model Policy 1815, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. That memorandum passes as well. Memorandum 252605, approval of WASDA Model Policy 1825, addressing school director violations. This is another one that we discussed yesterday, or last meeting, sorry. And we did have one change to this, just adding board chair to the last end of the first point to address exactly who concerns would be brought to, since they could not be brought to the whole board, to the board as a whole. Any further discussion on this?
I have a point for the community, and I hope I'm not speaking out of order since there's so many folks here who weren't at the last meeting. I just want to make sure folks understand that we did a lot of debate and discussion on this at the previous meeting. And I realized if I had just shown up to this meeting, it would look like we're just sort of like breezing through these without any consideration or thought. And I just want to make sure folks know that these are the continuation agenda items from our previous meeting.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'd actually love to add on to that and note that at our workshops, like our last meeting, we invite and love to have community input and discussion on the agenda items. So this is an opportunity to have a discussion about the items that we're now looking at and voting on up here, but we have the back and forth discussion on those agenda items at the workshops. And that is the first board workshop of each, or board meeting of each month, and the business meeting is the second. Thank you for pointing that out. Is there any other debate or discussion on this, or?
I'm just curious if the board member who had potentially violated law, policy, or judgment was the board chair, with whom would that issue be taken up?
The implication would be vice chair. We could certainly be open to a motion to amend this to add that language if we would like to.
I move to amend line 1 so that it states conversation in a private setting between the offending school director and the board chair or another individual school director identified by the board chair, parentheses, if the offending school director is the board chair, substitute vice chair, end parentheses, semicolon.
Okay, we have an amendment to this memorandum on the table. Is there any debate or discussion on this item or on this amendment?
Director Jackson, would you be so kind as to email your wording? Like I hear it as you've spoke it, but if you could email it to the appropriate people so that it could be captured as you said it.
Absolutely.
Would be helpful. Thank you.
I'll do that now if I may have the board's permission to email during a board meeting. Does that feel appropriate? Only on this one.
Before you forget the words.
I won't forget the words.
I would may I offer you a note card to write down because we are actually restricted from
Please.
making electronic communications
Ah,
during the board meeting.
Thank you. I wondered.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, I just wanted to thank you for noting that conflict of interest and helping us resolve it.
Any other discussion or debate on this amendment to our memorandum? I'm holding space so that Director Jackson can get it written down as well, but I believe that we can go on. Student representatives, do you have an advisory vote on this amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
At least she doesn't have to type in front of everybody on the large screen, right?
Screen.
Okay.
Almost.
Almost. No, my apologies. I jumped the gun
No
on that.
pressure, Marty.
Okay. All those in favor of amending point 1 in this item to include the parenthetical comment at the end of the line, if the offending school director is the board chair, substitute vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The amendment has passed. Is there any further debate or discussion on the memorandum as amended? Okay. Could we have student representative advisory votes on the memorandum as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. All those in favor of approving the memorandum as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum is approved as amended. Our final item of new business is memorandum 252606, approval to retire South Whidbey School District Policy 2178, traffic safety education.
I just wanted to add that currently right now we do not have traffic safety education. There's one in Oak Harbor. We do not have the fleet of cars. We had extensive conversation about this. It would cost us an exceptional amount of money to get a fleet of cars. And while we are recommending retiring this policy, this doesn't prohibit us from offering this in the future.
Yeah, and I remember there was discussion at the last meeting also about the fact that the professional driving schools offer more opportunities and supports than we could and have previously. Is there any other debate or discussion on this item? Student representatives, could we have your advisory votes on this memorandum?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving memorandum 252606, approval to retire South Whidbey School District Policy 2178, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. The memorandum has been approved. That is the conclusion of our new business for tonight. We have our report section at the end. We turn first to our financial and enrollment report. Mr.
I'm going to do a
Dr.
really
Clifford.
quick overview before we hand it to Mr. Field. We have a very long meeting today, and our finances are on track, and and everything is as expected, as it has continuously always been. So we're going to focus on some basic some basic financial information that every district typically looks at, and next month we will go into our more extensive financial review like we do in the past. We just know that this is a really long meeting, so we're giving you the basic information. And I meet with you weekly and discuss this with you weekly.
Thank you, and I appreciate the consideration for everyone's time here.
All right, let's do it. So our enrollment report, we're up 110 kids over budget.
which it's fantastic news. So those kids that we saw in September are sticking around. Next slide here. So now we have the extended dot. So we're the orange line at the top, the blue line at the very bottom is budget, and those are the comparative years. The next one here is showing it by grade level, and where the orange line compared to the other prior years. This is by grade, so you can see where we've increased across the spectrum. And I'm just going to skip to the next one here because this is comparing to budget. So where we've picked up kids compared to budget, you can see it's everywhere except 11th grade, or 10th and 11th grade. So there's almost 60 of the kids are in K5. And then in 6 and 7, 8, we picked them up there, and the high school staying pretty flat. So we have some more seniors sticking around compared to budget. So it's good news across all grade bands. So this is the statutory requirement, the budget status report. So it's just the minimum report. I know we have a lot more information typically. If we looked at all our graphs this month, it would just be a single dot because it's information from September. The next slide here is capital projects. We can point out here that we have our bond sale. That's that $50 million number in the year to date. So the second bond sale closed on September 17th. So that's the big call out here for capital projects. And the next one here is the debt service fund. That $102,000 that we got in September is related to the bond sale. We collect additional closing costs there to make sure we can make our first debt payment when it comes due. ASB, they didn't spend any money in September because the kids are just coming back in, so they don't really have time to approve and get things set up, but they'll start picking up their spend pattern here at the rest of the year. It's pretty normal. And then the collections is just ASB cards, sports fees, things that run through ASB. And then nothing really to report in the transportation vehicle fund, regardless, it's just the interest that we got in September. We get all our money for transportation in August in our August apportionment. So with that, that is what I have for a financial report this month. If there's any questions, I'm happy to field them.
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Field. Again, I know that this is year-end reporting for you, so that you're doing a lot of other reporting. And so I appreciate just how well you have trained us to read these reports in the past so that we're able to take a brief flyover today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I love to see that we are 75-ish students over last year's enrollment and 100 over budget. That's fantastic. I'm always in favor of conservative budgeting, followed by changes as needed, although I know that it does add stress to the administrative team to some degree. But I appreciate that that has been a standpoint that this district has taken for a significant period of time, and that we continue to do so that we can make sure that we do right by both staff and students. So thank you for the report. With that, we'll move on to our second report, which is our superintendent's report. Dr. Clifford.
I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. Second slide is, you all have the clicker over there. You have the power. It's okay. Just the goals. We're going to go to the third slide. This just demonstrates that we're continuing to make, I'm continuing to make progress on our superintendent entry plan. Almost everything is either in yellow, in progress, or green. I have probably 5 line items that are red or purple just because of the timing, or I haven't gotten to all of the aspects of those items. So this just keeps giving you an update. The next slide, all of our committees have met. Climate Action Committee has met actually 3 times. And we're finalizing our membership, and we'll be closing that out in the next, by the next meeting. And we have point people and leads in every one of these committees, and I'm not going to name them for time's sake, but they are all doing a wonderful job, and I appreciate that. I am daily, not daily, but weekly in schools. This month has been more in professional development with staff, but also visiting classrooms and also in student meetings, student and staff meetings, and problem solving meetings. And then mentioned enrollment, we have opened, we just opened a class, a 5th grade class on Monday. And so I'm really grateful because I know that that did create, there's a lot of work to make that happen. And it was a pretty quick turnaround. We have hired amazing staff members to meet the equally talented staff that we already have. And I really am grateful for all of the staff, including the office staff, this teaching staff, the classified staff, both on the instructional side and the operational side, as well as administration for making that work. And then the families and students, because they had to make some adjustments. But I am 100% confident in our teams, and it's going to make a great difference because those classrooms are high. We had high enrollment. So they're going to get a different experience by having a smaller class size. And I'm not going to speak to all the things because everybody else already mentioned all the activities and events that have been going on, and I've been enjoying every moment of participating or cheering our teams on. We had a wonderful, wonderful board retreat, and I just really wanted to thank the board once again for just taking the time to calibrate as a new team and just really get to know each other in a deeper way. So it was an amazing time, and learning how to sword, medieval swords. The next Southwest Community Center partner gathering was yesterday, and I got to meet with almost all of the lovely partners. We spent some time communing together, eating together, and learning about all of the programs. And they also got to learn about what we're doing and asking questions, and we're exploring opportunities for what we can do to support students. So that was amazing, and we're looking forward to continuing to deepen that partnership and just celebrating our partners. And then the next slide, just really briefly on the bond. We have updated, and we're still continuing to update our website. Thank you, Ms. Vaccaro, for your work on this, and the team. Right now, this is a multi-year project. So right now, this just shows the work that we have been working on up to this moment. And some of the work is going to happen throughout the entire life cycle of the project. So that if it's saying ongoing, it's because of that. And then some work is going to be at specific phases or specific time stamps during the project. We're right in the middle of bids, and it has taken a lot longer because we want our contractors and team are trying to be extremely fiscally responsible and efficient, and making sure that we have the right people, and also following the law, making sure that we have the right subcontractors to do the job, so that we can meet and deliver on our promise to the voters. And so once we get that done, we will have a more specific identified scope of work over the next 2 years, and we will list those items and update the website. And State Superintendent Chris Reichdahl was able to join and visit us to see the work in progress, and that was pretty great. I'm going to move on to the final slide. We're having a special ed family night November 4th. We tried to do it sooner, but there's just a lot going on, and we didn't want to conflict with other events, and this conflicts with another event too, but so we're trying to, there's just no good time. So we are looking forward to that special ed family night. It's just going to be the first opportunity. And then also the drug take back and collaboration with Langley PD. We're doing the drug take back event. So people please join and participate in that. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clifford. Any board member reports that we'd like to make? Do you have a legislative report?
Yes, just briefly, I wanted to thank the board members who filled out the WASDA survey on top legislative positions for the 2026 legislative session. As you know, we didn't have a chance to talk about this item because it arose in between board meetings, but WASDA did provide an Excel sheet, I should say a Google sheet, so that I could see other board members' positions. And I synthesized the top 10 priorities. They're not ranked, so they are just top 10 priorities of our board, not in any particular order. And they are and have been submitted. 1, amply funded staffing levels, universal free school meals, materials, supplies, and other costs funding, supports for special education programs, supporting mental health and preventing self-harm, transition to kindergarten, gun violence prevention, attract, recruit, and retain diverse staff, equitable PK through 12 school funding, and full funding of basic education. So those have been submitted on behalf of our district, and they'll be tallied up along with the position preferences of every other school board in the state who chooses to participate. And that will help shape WASDA's discernment around their top advocacy positions going into the session. Thanks.
Thank you for collating all of that.
I just want to thank everyone for showing up. It really warms my heart to see such a large community interest in public education. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, I am running for the Washington State School Directors Board of Directors. This is a statewide position that would be representing our corner of the state. The results came in and it was a tie. So there's going to be a runoff election. And so I encourage everybody to vote. Every vote counts, literally. It was a tie. So please vote in the runoff. Please vote for me in the runoff. And if you have any colleagues in other school districts in Director Area 1, which is our region, please encourage them to vote for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you for taking that step to advocate out and up for this district and other districts in the district area. Any other board comments? Okay. Thank you all very much. I do echo the appreciation for everyone here. It was a fantastic one for everyone to be at because we had the school improvement plans. Thank you very much. Good night. This meeting is adjourned.